Nerdforge is a YouTube. Some of her most popular videos involve her rebounding books. The one I watched was the most recent one when she rebound a copy of Lord of the Rings. The work was amazing. She created a leather cover and etched into the leather. All the work made an ordinary book into a piece of art you could enjoy even if you can't read. I think if Indiana Jones saw one of her books, he would say the famous line from his movie. You know the one. Snakes. Why does it have to be snakes? Ah, what a classic. When it came to her installment in YouTube's biggest art collaboration, started by 1000, she painted a space doggo, and it was awe-inspiring. Her work matched, or maybe stretched beyond, the awesomeness of the previous artists. Indeed, an achievement to be proud. Like I often say, I don't like to talk about my art technique, and I would say picking who I paint next is a part of that technique. And you might say I haven't painted enough women, this being the 6th women out of 45 portraits. And I'm the only one to acknowledge that at this point in time. I do wish I picked a more even amount, but I guess I have more male idols. Is that my fault? Or can I say it's a reflection of society? I could say that, but would I be right? This series is getting close to being halfway done. I'm biggest skill at this point of this painting series is showing up. Putting in the work even though I don't always feel like painting. The biggest reason why I only paint one portrait a day is that the stretched canvas I paint on costs $2 per. So to make my budget, I could only have one per day. If money and storage wasn't a problem, I would have been done by now. Self-control. It is going to help when my canvas roll shows up in the mail. Having the one portrait sale in my belt, I'm reinvesting in myself. Reinvesting in my art. I'm a little bit worried about how much oil paint it is going to take to attempt to fill just my first 6 foot tall by, I don't know how many feet, hopefully 10, by... It doesn't feel like I went through all that much paint by painting these 45 portraits to date. My Winsor & Newton student grade paint that I use is perfect for me. It's highly pigmented and heavy body, and they're at an affordable price. I do wonder about using the next grade of oil paint, the artist grade, but the price is holding me back from that. Here's to dreaming of an art sponsorship. I'm a great oil painter. I got them ambitions and them dreams and makings to be a legend. But I'm also remarkably meek. I would make a great role model in paint, making art just to create art. Critically untrained. I didn't know I wanted to be an artist when I was in high school, so I never thought about going to an art school. I still don't think about going to an art school. Going to school to be an artist feels like a scam. Well, lots of schooling looks like a scam to me. Maybe not medical or dental or trades, but in a pursuit of art, it would be nice to just take the time to work on yourself and your art. But to do it in an art school setting, it feels like a road bump in the journey to being an artist. What they teach you in that school will be subjective. The only things I could see that will help are practical things like cleaning your brushes or how to mount a canvas. But you could just Google that. Google anything. And when you're ready to do anything or need an idea, a Google will help. Paying any amount of thousands of dollars to an institution to then pay a failed artist to then, in quotations, teach teach, end quotations, how to create, and then tell you whatever you did is only worth 80% of an imaginary number that no one will ever care about, and then give you a piece of paper with the hopes that a corporation will be all like, dude, you gave John $40,000 to teach you something you can't be taught? Sure, I'll underpay you for labor and take you even harder than John did. Okay, it might go without saying I don't have respect for schooling. Yet at the same time, I feel I'm ready to learn. Maybe I need that Skillshare subscription. But then again, I'd be at the mercy of learning at the hands of who is ever teaching and making videos about it. Should I trust anyone when it comes to art? I think that what I'd like to do one day is go to a big city and then go to a museum and have the experience of historical art and maybe some more modern art in a way I've never had the chance to yet. I can imagine myself making an art show where I go around the world and visit the Met or the Museum of Modern Art. I don't know what the show would be yet. Maybe I could be inspired by an artist to create a work in honor of their work. Maybe sponge up what I experience with my eyes and imagine how I could tackle certain environments or subjects or abstractions. I don't know, it sounds interesting, but that may be something I'd like to fund myself for YouTube if I ever get the chance to actually grow on YouTube. With the banger art YouTube videos I have been making, I was hoping to gain a couple subscribers, but out of all these gains and losses, I am 5 behind from when I abruptly stopped streaming Grand Theft Auto on my channel and went back to making art like my heart and soul requires of me. I thought the abstract cat faces painted for years was what I was always going to do. I never thought that when I started, but when I did start, I painted such a similar image 250 times of the cat face. It was an endurance experiment and my way of tackling artist's block. I have never dealt with artist's block after I had made that decision. Another decision that has helped me with artist's block is a more recent one. That is this series of 100 portraits I am creating. Before I started it, I was rarely painting. I was uninspired. It's not like I couldn't create, it's that I didn't know what I wanted to create. And at the end of the day, for me, when it comes to how I create, the what is so unimportant. The actual action of painting and creating is where it's at. But now that I got a good hold on creating, and I'm getting better at painting faces, I'm ready to tackle my first political painting. It's not about my talent. It's not that I will be the best artist to portray the images I plan to in my head. It's the fact that I have these ideas and ambitions, and that I will create it. If one of the things people think when they see it is, I could do that better, that is a good thing. I know I'm also going to inspire hate, and that I'm just okay with. It's tackling one of the hardest subjects in Canada's history, one that many would rather just forget. But I don't like that. You must remember, it is awful what was done to the Native Americans, and the fact that it was still happening up to 1996, the Canadian-sponsored genocide attempt on Indian culture held out by the evil hands of the Catholic Church, the nuns and priests that raped and killed these children, and that was sponsored by the government of over 100 years should be held accountable. The mass grave of 250 children found at the school in Kamloops, British Columbia, is not a big number in the grand scheme of things. The death of many cultures is a national travesty. Moving forward, I don't wish to talk about these 250 children very often, but I will be talking about residential schools or internment camps, as it is the subject of my big painting. Though it is triggered by this discovery, the single event is small and largely unimportant when it comes to the bigger picture of lost culture and potential ancestors across Canada. Sorry to take a step back and talk so much about my art, but the show is called GP Paints You. GP Paints is 2/3 of it, use only 1/3 of it. But I often find it hard to talk about my subject for more than a minute before I feel the urge to talk about myself and my art. What are your thoughts about this show? What would you do differently if you were GP? If I were GP, I would take a break after the 50th portrait and come back and attempt the next 50th paintings in a more cubist style. But I don't know, I'm not GP. Well, anyway, that's the show. Thanks for watching. If you want to help me financially, I have a tip jar with a link via PayPal now. And I have a Visa debit card in the mail. The last thing I need to set up my Etsy store. Thanks for watching. I'm GP Does, and I'm painting you.